All right, I'm Tom Suharto,
Hello, John Solomon.
and we are here at Sport Beach, and we have this giant crowd and audience
They're all here to see us, Tom.
here to watch our podcast recording. This is amazing, or video. So anyway, Tom Suharto, I lead strategy at Forsman and Bodenfors, based in New York, and I work globally across our offices, and here with my client, John.
Yes, I am Chief Marketing Officer of Therabody.
All right, and yeah, it's kind of cool being here at Sport Beach because obviously super relevant for Therabody and all the stuff you do.
Yep.
I don't know how many athletes have come through.
I mean, it's amazing here. We're actually competing here with Travis Kelce and his brother. And that's what the crowd's here for. Plus, there's Peloton trainers. There's football players, basketball players, climbers.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, right? As a kind of marketing festival and how important sport is and become.
One thing I noticed what's cool is like when you've been talking to them, just like, hey, this is what I do over Therabody. There's like a genuine appreciation for Therabody products.
Yeah.
That they're not just excited to meet you for the see them. It's like, no, I love the products you make.
Yeah. No, it's awesome to see. I mean, when we really started, our founder, Dr. Jason, he the first people that really adopted Theragun and loved it so much were the athletes. They got it right away, right? They're like, this product is going to help me recover. It's going to help me, practice harder, come up the next morning and play again quicker. So they love the products. We kind of grew the brand really with athletes, right? Mm-hmm. From Ronaldo to Man United to all sorts of different teams and athletes.
Yeah. So you've been there like 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, almost 3 years.
What was sort of the marketing strategy around audience, around athletes when you arrived?
Yeah, I think because literally like Dr. J selling, 8 years ago out of the back of his car to athletes around LA, the insight was, this is going to be the easiest to start to convert, right? So really went after the athletes, really went after weekend warriors, so CrossFit, fitness, gyms, and then the strategy was really how do we get into the locker room, right? And and a lot of it started with, team sponsor deals, athlete sponsor deals. We had a number of them come on as investors. So that was really the strategy, was started that, top of the pyramid, right? Those are the elite athletes. That's who we were really making the products for. They're giving us insights on the products. And so the focus was there. And during COVID, when everyone was locked up, they're building their home gyms. That's the products that gravitated towards them. Get a Peloton, get a Theragun.
Yeah, but it spread from there. Because I know there was one, I don't know if it was COVID Christmas, one of those when it felt like everyone was getting a Theragun for Christmas. It was sort of the go-to gift.
Yeah.
So what was it like to sort of broaden your outlook from, top of the pyramid elite athletes to sort of, more everyday people? Yeah.
I think the thing we have to remember is even though it felt like probably it was in your feeds and, everywhere, I mean, still our awareness, even still today, is not, super high. I think we're thinking of like maybe in California or New York, everyone's seeing it, or maybe people who are more aware early adopters into fitness, but there's still, when we ran, studies, there's still a ton of people who don't know about us. Yeah. So the strategy has been like, how do we open the aperture and how do we show that our products are for people who are in pain, people who are, dealing with stress, anxiety, and so our products can really help a large number of people. So that's the journey we've started to go on, obviously working with you all too.
Well, I remember when we started doing some research together, one of the things we learned was people were kind of intimidated by it.
Yeah.
It can kind of look like a power tool.
Yep.
It's a big, it vibrates very hard.
Yeah.
So some people thought it could even hurt them.
Yeah.
So
it literally has the name gun in it too,
and
which
sometimes
could
doesn't
be
help.
Yeah.
But I think what we had thought a lot about from an audience perspective was like, how do we get more people to see how this fits into their life?
Yeah.
To see how it's not just for Ronaldo, that it could be for them.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big shifts, and maybe we can speak to this a little bit, is like not just thinking about it as sort of a tech device or but really like leaning more into wellness and like sort of seeing wellness and seeing your audience a bit broader.
Yeah, I mean, you were along for the journey, so the research was really, hey, this is for the elite. This is a Rolls Royce product, right? But I'm not, Ronaldo. And I think what's different in other categories you probably worked in, right? When I was at Beats by Dre, big part of, getting awareness out was putting it on athletes, right? But you could relate to, I'm gonna listen to music to get into something, right? When you're putting a product on your body, like that is a very intimate thing. So what we had to do is start to actually create different products based on those consumer needs we found and the feedback we got. So it was a journey of new products, new positioning, a bit of a more welcoming brand identity that was less that techie Apple white package, and started to really be a brand that was more about, I would say, not walking away from performance and sport, but making almost other products and divisions within the company, right? So if I go to Target, I'm going to not see maybe the top-end pro device, right? I'm going to see that will more relate to that consumer.
That would be like at Best Buy or something
Best
like
Buy, Target, who are we going to... Yes, Best Buy would have all of our products. Target or Walmart would have a subset of that for that audience.
Right. And I saw like last year or this year, one of the places your product turned up was on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So Larry David was giving it a gift to someone. It's like, hey, that's a really good gift. But it like wasn't appreciated.
He's like, it works. It really works.
Yeah.
It's like
how did that come about?
So Larry David was, it's a funny story. He was literally filming in Santa Monica, and he kind of just, in a Larry David move, just kind of went in the office and was like, what's going on here, right? And kind of just learned about the product, met Dr. J, and Dr. J still to this day, treats them, supports them, and so he's a huge fan of the product. Yeah. And the production on their last season said we love a Theragun. Yeah. We didn't know what they were going to do with it. It's a little, but we sent it to them. Yeah. And then I didn't even know until the episode aired. Because we weren't paying for this. It wasn't like a paid placement. A lot of people were like, "Who's your agency that got that paid placement?" But it was actually just he loved the product. He was a fan, and he really wanted to kind of hook us up. In the last season.
That's awesome.
And it was actually a big part of the show, and I think it started to help, like things like that help people, open their eyes to like this could be for, it's one of our audiences. I would say Larry is probably in our active aging cohort that we're going after, and he loves the product. Yeah,
it's a pretty big shift, right? Yeah. Ronaldo, Larry David, two totally different folks.
Right.
And actually, when we worked on the campaign with you guys, that was kind of like the insight we were working around, was like, it doesn't matter if you're Ronaldo or if you're Larry David. We all go through kind of tough days. Yeah. Whether you're, here at Cannes, I've walked a ton. Yeah. We were very privileged to be here. So.
Right. But how many steps are you taking?
But the things we have to do. A nurse, a teacher, they're on their feet all their time. A marketer. But I think. It didn't matter necessarily what your job was, that we all deserve recovery because we're all working probably harder than our body wants us to a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think the challenge as a marketer is it's hard to be for everyone, right? Because if you're for everyone, you're for no one. And so I think what's interesting, what we've seen here is now with a lot of conversations around AI, a lot of conversations around personalization. So I think brands now can take a audience-specific approach, and you can show up in different ways. Right? We still have to be one brand, right? Yeah. But you can show up differently to a mom that's watching Bravo, to show up something different than a cyclist who might be watching Tour de France or might be on Strava. So there's all these ways that we can now, really engage with people and speak to them. Because I think what's really important, at least for our product and our categories, you kind of have to see someone you can relate to, right? Even if the nurse might be like your sister, right? Yeah. Or, but it's not always the pro athlete.
It's a big word of mouth product too. Yeah. It's like when you get one and you love using it, that's when you start sharing it. Yeah. But until you kind of know someone, it can be tough to think, oh, that's for me. Yeah. And that's why I think some of the messaging and the work we're doing kind of helps with that.
And you all have, ideas you shared before too, of that's that feeling, that Theragun feeling, and how do you capture that? How do you bottle that? How do you share it out? Even being here, people, when you say Therabody, people are like, love the product, love it, it's great. So the challenge is, and in being in consumer electronics for a long time, it's a great product. it lasts.
Yeah.
So you're not buying one necessarily
Right.
every year.
Yeah.
So how do we continue to bring new audience in is one of the biggest challenges you have, right?
Yeah.
We're not a recurring revenue stream. We don't have some of those things. Like we're like need to get people in and more people in. So I think the audience expansion has been key to our strategy and what we worked on with Workout Called Life.
Yeah. What interests me too, when I just from knowing how you guys organize your marketing team, use the term audience offense, which I thought was really cool. It's like, okay, you guys are almost like playbook style, organizing your marketing team around winning and serving different audiences. Maybe speak to that, because I think that's kind of unique.
Yeah, our CEO famously says, Monty, he's like, Americans don't like to go deep on anything. He's like, they like to stay surface level. They don't go deep. And his thing is like, you have to go deep, right? So to have a brand manager who has to, think about 4 or 5 different audiences, you're never going to go deep, right? So what we did is we've really organized the brand team around kind of our 3 verticals: performance, wellness, and beauty. And then within there, we're having specific brand managers. Our vision is to almost per audience, right? We don't necessarily going to do that right away, but we do have, someone who is thinking more about mom, or another one who's thinking about the active community or the active aging. His belief is like they have to have the depth. They have to understand what are the retail partners, what are the events, what are the influencers, all of that. They have to really, really go super deep in order to, what we believe, authentically kind of infiltrate and grow those communities, or else you're just surface level on a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, that depth I think is really cool, because your brand, it's like it sits at the center of all these interesting topics that I think, just as human beings, whether it's sleep, pain, relief, they all matter to us almost on a daily basis. And I think when you choose to go deep in things that are that sort of important to us as humans, there's so many cool stories we can tell. I mean, I've been walking the Palais. We've sort of been looking at the ideas. I think there's so much opportunity for Therabody out there.
But I think and you kind of being a strategist, always talk about like the key insights, right? And the key behavioral insights. Like it's hard to get those. You can start to get them at like I think the campaign that we created and put out there, that you all came up with, the Workout Called Life, is very relatable on a top line level, right? But then how do you go down to nurses around like Nurses Week when they're like graduating and being like relevant to them at those moments, right? Like how do you go? One thing we're even looking at is there's a national senior games that are like the 55 plus, and 500,000 people compete to be in these national games. How do we have an experience there and show up for people there? So, in addition to the Olympics, in addition to these other things, but I think it's a lot of brands go to the obvious things, but there's like the mass culture things. But I think at a brand at our size, we don't necessarily have the budgets to do that, right? So we have to find like other ways that we can get in. Yeah.
I think showing up at those places, it credentializes you guys with the communities who are involved in there. Again, the word of mouth. It's showing a level of care, and actually that we are here for you. And I think that's actually what a lot of the Workout Called Life kind of was about. Like if your workout looks like this, your recovery should look like this. Which is a bit of a mantra we want to keep repeating because everyone deserves recovery.
I think it's just taking the idea of the workout, right? And it's traditional sense and flipping it, right? And I think it was very smart. The workout could be, we're both dads. I'm have a younger kid, a toddler, and so I'm like, I'm not cycling as much. I'm using my back and picking him up out of the crib, right? And so I'm having different pains. So I also think it's really important just to even look at the life stages too, right? Is that with our products, as people are going through different life stages, you start to need our product more and more. And what I've found is marketing teams always want to go younger, right? And I don't know if it's a product of like it's just cooler,
Gen Z,
it's
like
more fun,
youth culture,
right? I don't know if it's because we hire marketers that are younger and that's like what they know, and you kind of go to what you know. But I think that I'm interested in the segment that is the aging population that we know has time, has money,
disposable income.
We know people are going to live longer. Longevity is a huge trend. How do we start to also talk to and engage with those consumers? Because it's I don't think it's as sexy. I'd love to know your opinion, right? As a marketer and the briefs you get, like how many briefs do you get of like how do we tackle
not
50
many
plus?
No,
right?
it's mostly Gen Z.
So
but
it's an opportunity.
Totally. But the idea can be sexy. maybe the audience isn't like, talk of the town. It's not the 18 to 35 demo, but I think there are some amazing ideas that can serve, active aging or nurses. The purity of the idea for them can be amazing.
So I'm going to flip the question. I'm going to flip to you. How, as a brand, right, that wants to, I think has a pretty, I would say as you walk around, and I always feel people are like, oh, the great brand, love the brand, recognized by top athletes. How do we not? How do you go to different cohorts, but still like you still want to be a cool brand, right? At the end of the day, like, and but how do you do that, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of depends what you define as cool, but I do think that if you show up in
it doesn't mean to go like because older people are using it, it's not cool, right?
I think you show up in a community or show up for an audience, and if it's based on an insight, if it's based on a way that you're actually adding value to them, or you're creating something new for them, or you're bringing them something of value, of maybe that they couldn't get other places. I think as long as you do that, you're going to be welcomed. And honestly,
I think we're always, and even I remember at Beats, it was always like, do we make an ad for like the business traveler and show that he's like the cool business traveler? Do you always stay young? And I think there's always that. And even before our new CEO Monty came in, I think there was even hesitation of making lower price point products, right? Like this whole thing of like, are you going to degrade the brand, right? I think that is a fear of marketers, right? As you start to have to expand, right? Are you going to lose that authenticity? And I think something we think about, a lot.
I think like the shine though of like premium brands is premium matters, price premium matters, but I actually think if you're democratizing something, if you're bringing wellness to like a much broader, if you're helping more people sleep at night, honestly, I think there's a lot more coolness in that than some sort of slick product, thing you can talk about.
And I think that's where a big focus of us was, even when we introduce into like different price points we've never been, products that I don't want to say de-spec, but they're not necessarily need it doesn't need a heart rate monitor, it doesn't need hot and cold, all these things on our more entry products. It's still the same premium product, premium packaging. Like we're not compromising on the experience, which I think is key. A lot of times people make like, oh, the cheaper product should be like, everything should be cheaper about it, but you still get an amazing experience.
Totally. Well, I'm really looking forward to more opportunities with you guys, going after different audiences, and like you said, all the conversations here at Cannes, the innovation, the tech, AI, of course. It's going to make that all more fun. I really do. I think it will.
I think there'll be some good work coming out of it too.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, John.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. Bye, everyone on the internet.
Thanks for watching.